gosh, I can't read without glasses. Sorry, guys. Voice exercise, tongue exercise, voice coaching. Get your gravel out of your throat. Get the frogs out of your throat. Exercise your tongue. I take speech class. You really do exercise your tongue. So you don't stumble over words. Okay, we're reading The Magic Bicycle. The Spirit Flyer series. Book 1 was The Magic Bicycle. Book 2 is The Toy Campaign. And I'm reading the second one, The Toy Campaign. I'm in front of the trailer. AC's kind of sort of maybe working. Not terribly. It's kind of hot out, so I'm kind of miserable. Not miserable, but not perfectly comfortable, let's put it that way. Okay, I was on chapter 18, 17, 18, I think. I'm pretty sure I'm on 18. Okay. Chapter 18, Losing a Battle. Hope you can hear me. I guess I could turn the AC down. Or off. I'd have to turn it off. It's on low. I'll just talk loud. Hope you can hear me, okay? Losing a Battle. Chapter 18. Susan thought it would be a simple task to warn sisters and John about the dangers she had seen in the old mirror. But first she had to find them. She thought for sure they would be at the toy store. She waited patiently across the street for more than a half hour. But as the line of children got smaller and smaller, Susan grew more worried. When the last 10 children went inside the mysterious toy store, Susan began to feel frightened. She wondered if her sisters and cousin had already gone through the line somehow. She pedaled up and down Main Street and let her worries grow. Without thinking or letting the Spirit Flyer lead, she rode home in a panic. But there was no one home, not even Aunt Bernice. Oh boy, yippee-ki-yay. Got rid of her, huh? I've got to get back to the toy store, Susan mumbled to herself. Deep inside, she felt like she had made a big mistake by leaving. She pedaled back toward the toy store as fast as she could go. Had to keep those toys away from John and her sister. She never thought to look up, or she would have seen the crow flying overhead, following her like a tiny shadow. While Susan sped down 10th Street toward the town where Barry Smedlow and the Cobra Club had just ridden out of the alley behind the toy store, he popped a sweet temptation into his mouth and saw Susan coming down the street. Look out, load up, Barry said. He pointed toward the girl. Barry and the Cobra Club had hid behind a parked pickup truck and waited. The big boy was eager for revenge, but he was also a little scared. The mysterious powers of the old Spirit Flyer bikes worried him. These faster blasters are great, Jim, he said. I've never had so much fun. Mrs. Happy said they'll shoot even more stuff, Barry said. She mentioned some kind of new ammunition was coming soon. I think they work great already, Alvin said. Just blasting John Kramer out of the dump was good enough for me. And capturing his bike was even more fun. You think it's safe to shoot these in town? Robert asked. Though he liked shooting the faster blasters, he was nervous because the firecrackers made such a loud noise. The other boys seemed to like the risk. Here comes the target now, Barry said. All the boys looked. Susan Kramer was barreling up the street. Doug began to laugh. Quiet, Barry said. We'll shoot just like before. Wait for my signal. Susan hoped she wasn't too late. She pedaled faster, but just as she got to the corner of the town square, she heard a tiny blowing horn. What now? She asked out loud. She didn't want to stop, but she knew. Hopefully more than John. She knew the horn might be warning her of something. She stepped on the brake. She's stopping, Doug whispered. They were all peeking out from behind the parked pickup. She can't have seen us, Barry whispered. Then why did she stop, Jimmy asked. I don't know, the bigger boy said. I'll count to 3. Then we'll charge. We'll use the long fuses this time. The boys quickly changed ammunition, keeping an eye on the girl. The horn was still softly blowing. Susan cocked her head, then looked around. I wonder why it's blowing when The Cobra Club shot out from behind the truck and headed straight for Susan. She saw the black mysterious instruments on the boys' bicycles, then noticed the flames of their lighters. Strike, the boys yelled and stood up on their pedals to go faster. Susan crossed the street, racing toward the bandstand. The boys had gained a lot of speed by then. Susan jumped her bike up on the sidewalk. The Cobra Club jumped their bikes right behind her and cut across the corner just in front of the bandstand, trying to head her off. The fuses sparkled and sputtered. Susan looked over her shoulder. The boys were grinning with satisfaction, knowing they were within range. Just then, 3 children stepped onto the sidewalk in front of Susan. She swerved off to the left, going onto the grass. Barry smiled, seeing that a row of rose bushes would stop the fleeing girl. Susan turned sharply in front of the racing bikes as she headed for the roses. Strike, Barry yelled, but as the boys squeezed the triggers of their faster blaster, Susan pushed down on her handlebars. The old red bike soared up into the air and the faster blasters as the faster blaster shot. The firecrackers exploded beneath her feet as she sailed over the road. The members of the Cobra Club tried to turn their bicycles, but they were going too fast. They were so surprised at the sight of her zooming over the roses, they forgot to brake in time for the hedge. Splat. Susan heard their yells and the sound of metal hitting metal. She aimed the old red bicycle for the ground and landed gently. She wanted to look back at the wreck, but remembered that she needed to warn John and the others. She stood up on the pedals of the Spirit Flyer and shot across the grass. She turned onto Main Street and slowed down for 3 passing cars. Then she pedaled down the block toward the toy store as fast as she could go. But her heart sank as she hopped off the bike. John came out of the toy store with 2 toys, followed by Lois and Catherine. Each of the girls also had 2 toys. They smiled when they saw Susan. All 3 were sucking on a fresh piece of green candy. Susan was crushed. Remember to hang on to those number cards, Mrs. Happy said. They're important. And look who's arrived. The last number herself. John, you didn't take those toys, did you? Susan asked, trying to catch her breath. Give them back quick before it's too late. Too late for what? John asked. These look pretty neat. Why would I want to give them back? I got a Goliath combo gizmo and a Goliath faster blaster. These are the same toys Barry and his club got this morning, and they were the very first ones in line. No, Susan said. They're not good toys. They'll ruin your Spirit Flyer. Give them back. Don't be silly, young lady, Mrs. Happy said. Goliath toys are of the finest quality. No, they're not, and you know it, Susan said fiercely to the old woman. Mrs. Happy looked coldly at Susan for a moment. Then her face brightened. I'm sorry you're upset, my child, Mrs. Happy said. Your brother was upset, too, because he thought all the good toys would be gone. Many children have been thinking that all day long, yet they left happy and pleased with their free gifts. Come inside with your number. Just step up to the big black box. There will be a flash like someone taking your picture. Here's your number card, Susan, Lois said, giving her sister the black piece of plastic. You were the very last one. Number 565. I brought it from home for you. You put it in the big black box. That's when it makes a funny puppet, Catherine said. Both the number card and the puppet had my face on it. I'm not taking anything of yours, Susan said to the old woman. Keep your number. Susan threw the black plastic number at Mrs. Happy. The old woman blinked in surprise as the number hit her and fell on the ground. Susan, John said in surprise. He had never known her to be so rude. Mrs. Happy continued to smile as she bent down to pick up the number. Come see for yourself, my child, if you think. I don't want to see anything, Susan said. You tricked John and my sisters and probably the whole town for that matter. But you don't fool me. You don't fool me about tonight either. No one is fooling anyone, my dear, Mrs. Happy said. Every child in town is happy now, playing with his or her new toys. They become part of the Goliath toy family, and it's one big happy family, as you will see if you just take your number and step up to the big black box. You'll like it if you only try it. Now come, child. The old woman smiled so sweetly that Susan began to doubt what she had feared. The soothing words floated around inside the girls' heads. Here, have some candy. And think about it, Mrs. Happy said. You don't have to use your number today. But why miss out on all the fun? All the other children are having fun. Don't you want to join them? Take my hand. It's so easy to join in. Then the old woman touched Susan's hand. Susan jerked back. The old woman's hand was cold and reminded Susan of the one time she had been brave enough to touch a dead snake. But that dead snake felt just like Mrs. Happy's touch. I'm not taking that number or any of your toys, Susan said. Maybe not today, then, Mrs. Happy said. I can see that it's been a long day for all of us, but you'll be back. Young or old, clouds or not, you'll come back if you have some fun. I won't take anything from you today or tomorrow or ever. Not now, not ever, Susan said, and neither will they. Susan grabbed a doll from Catherine and she threw it on the sidewalk at the old woman's feet. Catherine swallowed her Sweet Temptation candy. Catherine swallowed her Sweet Temptation candy. A sour look crossed the little girl's face. Don't you touch my toys, Catherine yelled. Never. Don't you touch them. Catherine bent over and picked up the doll. She stuck her tongue out at Susan and then pushed past her. I'm going home, Catherine said. Me too, Lois said. I don't want to be around Miss Susan Grouch. Me neither, John said. He looked at Susan. You shouldn't be such a swell sport, Susan. You really ought to act your age. John, wait, Susan said, but the other children ignored her. Miss Susan looked at Mrs. Happy. The old woman tapped the black number card in her hand and smiled at Susan. High overhead, Nail caught and flew slowly down. Mrs. Happy held up her arm. The curl landed on it. Sure you won't change your mind, Mrs. Happy said. I'll be lonely. It'll be lonely when you're the only one without my toys. You'll miss the fun. Miss the fun, echoed the crow. You haven't won yet, Susan said. I don't know what you mean, my child, Mrs. Happy said. Your family likes those toys. They took them freely as they were given. They gave permission. And that's all I really ask of anyone. I just want their permission to help them and give them what they really want deep down inside themselves. And now I have that permission from your sisters and John. You can't change what's been done. We'll see about that, Susan said, even though she feared it was too late for her family, but she knew the three kings were powerful. But in spite of herself, she said, you just wait. I will wait for you, my child, the old woman said, and that won't be long. See you at the fireworks tonight. Mrs. Happy smiled once more and then walked back into her store. The crow fluttered on her arm. Susan felt like crying for a moment. If Mrs. Happy and Goliath Toys were able to get these toys into the hands of all the children in town, how could one girl on a bicycle stop them from enlisting them all at the fireworks that night? She picked up her spirit flyer and got on. Mrs. Happy waved to her from inside the store. Susan turned her head quickly away. She began to pedal then, but realized she didn't know where she wanted to go. She wanted to catch up to her sisters and John and tell them about the dangers of the toys and what she had seen in the mirror, but she realized for the first time that they wouldn't understand unless they were riding their spirit flyers. They needed to see the deeper danger for themselves. Susan pedaled slowly past the town square, across the grass, over by the row of roses. The Cobra Club was checking their wounds and arguing about what had gone wrong. They went silent when they saw the girl and her old red bicycle. Susan looked carefully at them, but none of them made a move. They watched her as if she were a ghost or an alien from outer space. Susan shook her head, then rode slowly toward home. End of chapter 17. I hope that was the right chapter. I'll figure it out now, and I'll read another one if it wasn't. Okay. I know I didn't read that one already, but oh well. Anybody on? One? Who would it be? Zapped and Kaboom? Nobody? Okay, good night. God bless everybody.